So I'm going to go off lectionary this week and dive into something that's lit up the internet this past week. No, it's not a civil discussion about the latest political crisis, as if civil discussions actually exist to any great degree at this time in our history. But it's an internet rant about the color of skin of a mermaid. You heard me correct. An internet meltdown about the color of skin of a mermaid. Here, take a look. That's the trailer that was recently released to Disney's live-action version of their classic animated tale, The Little Mermaid. It didn't take long for the internet to explode because Disney had reimagined The Little Mermaid. No longer a pale, white-skinned creature with red hair, the new Little Mermaid is darker-skinned with dreadlocks. A role played by 19-year-old Halle Bailey. I watched and read the reactions with both fascination and disgust, only further cementing my understanding that people will say most anything in the relative anonymity of the internet, no matter how racist, homophobic, anti-immigrant, or sexist it might be. Disney was attacked for being politically correct, despite its attempts to be more inclusive with skin tone and gender roles in these past 2 decades. The words used more than by a few, Disney is giving into woke culture and abandoning the whiteness of America. Nothing racist there, right? And, after all, as more than a few commented, everyone knows that mermaids are white. They live under the sea in relative darkness, so they are very pale and need little coloring in their skin. I actually heard a scientist say there was scientific evidence to prove this on TV. And people really wrote stuff like that, not just a few, lots of people. And I shouted at the screen of my phone more than a few times, but mermaids don't exist. Some argued that the original tale of the Little Mermaid, written by Hans Christian Andersen, in that tale the mermaid was definitely white because she was from Denmark. Again, what? And let's put aside the fact that Andersen's original tale is far darker than anything Disney presented, while reminding ourselves that the story is a fairy tale. It's not real. But as of about this morning, The trailer for The Little Mermaid has amassed 1.4 million dislikes on YouTube. Racism continues to make itself known more blatantly than ever. I also read that a dubious in origin Facebook group also appeared last week. Christians Against the Little Mermaid. Someone was kind enough to do the research on this group to discover that it has a rather colorful history behind it, following the hot topics of the day. Also, it hides behind the unfortunate white is best culture that characterizes a certain branch of Christian thought. Christians Against the Little Mermaid. Again, do people realize that there are real problems in the world? But of course, I'm reminded that these folks believe that the real problems of the world are caused by the seemingly politically correct, woke actions of an iconic entertainment behemoth, the Disney Company. So let's spend a moment on this idea of being woke, because we're all hearing the term more and more lately, and most of us, myself included, up until I did research on Friday, have little knowledge of the history of wokeness. Being woke is not a recent phenomenon. One researcher traces it back to 1923, almost 100 years ago, when a social activist, Marcus Garvey, issued a global call to black citizens to become more socially and politically engaged, to wake up, in his words, way back in 1923. Being woke has been primarily identified with the black community. A powerful reminder to stay alert to the deceptions of other people. In 2014, the term rose in prominence after the killing of Michael Brown in Ferguson. When being woke also came to mean keeping watch over the actions of those in power who were intent on doing harm to the black community. In the past year or so, being woke has been usurped by politicians and television personalities. It has become, at least for white people, a universal term to define anyone who is progressive in their thoughts and beliefs. Anyone who is mindful of social injustices and the implicit biases of most of our institutions. And recently, and in the past few months, Disney has been referred to as a woke corporation by more than a few politicians. And this is not meant as a compliment. So are folks really upset that the Little Mermaid, the new Little Mermaid, is black? Not really. What they're upset about is the struggle that they are having with accepting anything but what they've known. That's kind of what's behind a lot of racism. Somehow, they think that if someone else is raised up, that they will lose something in the process. That the pie is only so big. Especially fear the loss of their power and privilege. And it's a sad testament to where too many people are right now. And it's also harmful. And when it's done in the name of Christianity, and it's being done more and more in the name of Christianity, it drags all of us down with it. It's no wonder that people in the 20 to 50-year-old range want nothing to do with organized religion. So, hearing all of that depressing stuff, Let's turn this message into something positive, because we're about the good news. As millions watched the video trailer of The Little Mermaid, people took to TikTok, and yes, this is I think the 5th week in a row that I've mentioned TikTok. They took to TikTok to record their children watching the trailer for the first time. And it made me cry. Again and again.
Wish I could.
She's like me.
I'm right.
She's like me.
Part of that world. Part of that world.
Are you crying?
No.
Oh, sweet girl.
Why can't we see your face?
They're about to show it. Keep watching.
Oh, she's black! She's black! Yes, 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 yes! Oh my god! Move it. Yes! Oh my god! Yes! Yes! A black mermaid! Let's go.
Wish I could be part of that world.
So did you see them? Did you hear their words? What's going on here? For these children of color, they are seeing someone who looks like them in the magical role of a main character. No, they didn't reason that out, but their child-centered intellect told them. For the first time for some of those kids, they looked into the mirror of the television or the cell phone or the iPad or the computer screen and saw a reflection of their own being. They were seen. And their black identity was celebrated. Being seen. That's the thing that continues to stick with me when I watch these videos. And if you want to see more, just Google them and you'll see a whole bunch. There is such power in being seen, isn't there? Many of us cannot imagine what it feels like to be invisible in the world, especially in the entertainment world. But even the young children in those videos realizes that a black mermaid is an anomaly. So how does all of this speak to us as people of faith? In the church, we've become accustomed to the way things are. When folks of a certain age speak of the church, they recall with fondness the glory days of the church in the 50s and the 60s. A time when life centered around the church and all of its activities. And Sunday morning was reserved for worship and fellowship, not just in the church, but in the community as well. But things have changed radically. Life no longer centers around the church, and it won't ever again. And like those who hold on to a white mermaid because it makes them feel in control and validates their need to have things be safe and familiar, sometimes we and the church hold fast to a bygone era that will never return, and quite frankly, probably shouldn't return. So what do we see reflected back at us now? A changing world. A very scary world at times. It's a world that's hungry for meaning. It's a world that's sometimes afraid. It sometimes seems to be a faithless world. And sometimes it seems a faith-seeking world. All difficult things to see reflected back to us, yet a reflection of needs or realities that need addressing, even as we don't want to acknowledge them. There are millions of people out there waiting to be seen. Millions of people for whom the church has lost its meaning, even as those same individuals wonder why they feel a certain emptiness inside. I said last Sunday during our conversation time that when I'm in a social setting, depending on what that setting is, I sometimes don't tell people that I'm a pastor. It's not that I'm ashamed of the work that I do, but it is an acknowledgement that the work that I do is sometimes seen by others as futile and unimportant. Every once in a while, when an I'm critical of the church video appears in my social media feed, I scroll through those comments, and I know I shouldn't have, but I do, because I want to understand where people's pain is at and why they are upset with the church, and how they've been hurt by the church. And I'm reminded that there are so many that need to be healed, emotionally, spiritually. And that there is so much that the church can offer these people if the church were to commit itself to doing it and then getting it done. Being seen and ministering to those who don't feel seen